picture basically opens with Lara going through a training session with this droid. We went through a great deal of previs animation trying to give it character. And because the thing's multi-armed, it's got basically 6 appendages. It went through a spider version, a gymnast version. We inserted some of that into the action. In fact, he does a really cool backflip in the movie where she's run past him. He then leaps up onto a pillar and does a backflip ending up on top of her. He basically exists in 2 versions. One is a fully synthetic CG character, but he also exists in the real world as a posable prop. That was used primarily for shots where it was immobile and it gave her something to react to.
We built a full-size droid. The way the progression went was they pretty much designed it on computer. You know, the pre-visualisation guys got together with the director, with the production designer Kirk, came up with what they wanted it to look like, and then gave us sort of conceptual drawings of it. And then we made a full-size one of it.
But any time it moves and jumps around, it's the CG version.
Stop!
A shot like this, about 80 frames long, about 3 days. But it all depends really how much the robot's moving in shot. Okay, first of all we get the clean plate, the director shoots, and a as-is beauty pass. We're able to key that straight on, and then we're able to grade it and depth it with various mats that 3D give us, along with lots of other layers that they supply. Separation passes for each limb, and various other bits and bobs are able to grade and treat each individual limb. And then various stages of putting it together to grade it to fit the background. It's a mat for his volumetrics, and a mat for his separation shadows. Various highlight passes, which are able to key directly over the top again, so that all the lights on the robot itself sit into the shot. Finally, a live action element, which we can put over the top, so that when it cuts with the live action robot in the next shot, it all sits in, so the final shot looks like that.
We went to a great deal of effort to make sure that the 2 tied up together. It was also particularly tricky in that the environment was very smoky and what have you, and we had to make sure that he sat in appropriately. You know, he didn't look like he was added onto the shots. I think we sort of broke new ground with that robot. I mean, there's been a lot of really impressive robots recently, CG robots in recent movies, but I think this one just was that little bit better. And I think we achieved a level of reality and scariness with this character that I hadn't seen in other films before.
They built the clock physically. There was a 3-dimensional clock that was used in the shooting of the film. But what they hadn't created was the insides, the inner workings of the clock, and how would that be. So we worked on the idea of making these sort of magical cogs and springs, and how it would actually look sort of suspended in time.
For this particular shot, the clock had to explode, and all the internal components had to animate in suspended animation. The recognisable parts had to be there, and then we had to fill it out with lots of small, detailed parts. First we went up to the set and took pictures of the large-scale clock. Then we brought these pictures into the computer and used that to draw around and get the correct proportions. This is the CG objects which are rendered. The background, Lara Croft. Then we have the crystal, which is an important part of the story here. And she puts her hand up and picks it up. And we also create some interaction with the objects as she puts her hand into the space.
And it's been quite exciting. So it looks pretty cool.
Lara uses the mysterious power that this triangular artifact has in order to go back in time and stop the killing of her boyfriend Alex. So we see her emerge from a fourth dimension into this slowed down past, where we see the knife slowly on its way towards Alex, having been thrown by Powell, the villain. She then approaches the knife. She's the only one who's existing faster than real time. She then physically goes up to the knife and turns the thing back on a trajectory towards Powell, the villain of the piece who'd thrown the knife. The time-slowing device then snaps back into real time and the knife hits Powell, disabling him so they can leave the tomb. We did it by physically having a knife on set attached to a green screened, green painted rod. That was then digitally removed. It allowed Angelina to have something physically to wrestle with. A CG knife was then used to actually plunge into Powell.
No.
As an offshoot of the mechanism, the time effect mechanism of the orrery, we have these little fractures in time, these time glitches, and they're basically three-dimensional, 3-foot floating clouds of plasma that serenely float around the tomb. However, when something physical interacts with them, they reveal a much more malevolent sort of character.
One of the sequences, the husky dog sequence, calls for a dog to enter their time glitch, enter a time storm, and be whittled back down to bone, blood and gore. And then it travels through the time storm out the other side and is untouched. Ended up shooting the husky dog against blue screen so that we could take it off that blue screen environment and place it anywhere. And we digitally, three-dimensionally rotoed the dog and built up muscle tissue and dog skeleton and tracked it to the live action.
So time storms, these started with conceptual discussions with Simon West, the director, and from that we put together this image, which is a basic design which represents the concept of when the time storm is alive, something has touched it. In particular, we're going to talk about the dog sequence. This is the sequence when the dog jumps through one of these things. The dog sees one of them, jumps into it, it ignites, and inside the time storm, the fur is stripped away from the dog, but his inertia carries him through, and he comes out unscathed. We start with an offline, which is basically just timing out the dog sequence with the other principal photography plates. And from that, we develop an animatic, including the computer-generated elements. Close up with the dog. You start with your backplate, which is shot on the orrery set. We have a dog which is shot on blue screen. We suppress the blue from the dog, put the dog over black, and extract a matte. And from this, a CG dog was assembled. That's the dog with the muscle texture, and a skeleton dog. And these elements are combined to produce the final result.
And the sequence looks pretty gnarly.
Holy shit.
The major set piece, action-wise and effects-wise, visual effects-wise in the film is this battle in the Angkor tomb with all the stone statues and characters that come to life. Powell, the bad guy, activates this centuries-old mechanism which unleashes this mercurial life form in the tomb, which wends its way towards these statues and systematically brings them all to life. The first ones that we encounter are these 6'4" humanoid stone monkey characters. And I went to a great deal of effort to make sure that they looked very plausible, very convincing, and that they looked like they were actually in the environment.
The shape was given by production because that was part of the set, and that was designed by production. From that, we had a perfect copy of the statues in digital world. But then the way they move was up to us. The next step consists of actually putting skeleton bones in a creature. Once you've got a creature which is able to move, just like an animatronic, really. You can pose it, animate it, light it, and render it, and it gets composited on the background.
When the stone characters came to life, and I felt very strongly that they should break and fissure and crack at the joints. They didn't actually have a rubberized feel about them. Rather than going a 100% CG route with all that, I made a great deal of effort to shoot real elements, dust and cobwebs, that would be later superimposed on top of these characters.
I think to make any shot successful, you've always got to sit the CG into the plate and then try and join the plate with it. And we shot lots of practical elements with Steve Begg, the effects supervisor. All of those elements have been used to blend the two images together.
I had considered at one point that we have stand-ins of stuntmen standing in wearing green costumes that would give Lara and the other characters something to actually physically refer to. But that actually would have limited the animation approach that I had in mind.
There's two situations really. There's some situation where the actors are interacting closely with the monkeys. So we had a kind of stand with some lights on it, so the actor could look in the eyes of the monkey without having the monkey. And that was quite useful because, straight away it makes it work.
Went to a great deal of effort to make sure that this looked totally believable. Originally, the concept was once Lara beats Powell up, she throws him into a time storm, and then he's basically carried into another tomb via the time storm, where he becomes entombed into the rock.
The time storms are sort of time portals, areas where time is bizarre, where it's turned inside out. And anything that interacts with these time storms, comes to a sticky end.
Powell becomes petrified. That was a miniature that we shot with little 3D characters and what have you in it. And we actually leave Powell's face and do have powers of 10 pullback from him as he turns into rock. And he becomes one of the souls that are lost in this tomb. I'm a big fan of miniatures, and I think used in conjunction with digital effects, you can get levels of reality that you just would have to work at with pure CG. The Brahmin character is basically the climatic part of the sequence. Our villains basically leave the tomb, and they know something else is going to happen. Lara, of course, is slightly oblivious to this. She's standing in front of this character, and he slowly comes to life behind her.
Obviously, it has to be pretty imposing, pretty scary, and definitely convincing that this thing is towering over Angelina.
Because it exists on set already, the look in that sense is already described.
What we needed to do was recreate the Brahmin from the set in CG, totally. So in order to do that, you need to go out onto set, take photographs, take textures, take measurements, and bring that all back for the guys to replicate it.
It's quite complicated and sort of quite interesting from a 3D standpoint, because it's a character which starts off as a real object and has to sort of, because it's made out of stone, it breaks itself into a real character. So it's quite a challenge for us. Somehow we've got to get a transition where it actually breaks itself apart and we see the stone crumbling, and so it frees itself up enough to be able to move. We basically by hand have to go through and sketch out on the Brahmin guidelines where we need to break it. So the animators sort of play with the character for a while, try and work out which bits they need to be removed and which bits of stone need to be cracked so that it can actually achieve the movement that we need to get, and then we have to go for it and painstakingly chop it up into hundreds and hundreds of bits. And this face animates as well, so then we have to go into even more detail and break his face up into, give him enough pieces so they can actually move to make shapes and give expression. This is the first time he sort of fully stands, so at this point we've broken away enough of him to allow him to move, and he actually steps down from the podium and she realises that he is going to come after her. And from within all those cracks we're getting dust and bits of stone crumbling out all the time.
We did have the option of putting dust gags, dust effects actually physically on the set that we would imply were basically being caused by the footfalls and the motion. But I opted to go for a post effect with that, a very complicated effects element shoot that we would use to layer on top of this character to make him look like he was really 25 tons of statue coming to life. So we had loads of dust and rocks and bits and pieces falling off him, all shot real world, but added on top of the CG character. So as with the Stone Monkeys, we got a level of, I think, reality that you could do with CG, but funnily enough, we did have the option. And also I thought, if you can do something for real, do it for real. Try and imply that there was a 5,000-year-old intelligence within him, and we tried to get that across in these moves, and that there was a definite function in what he was doing. He was slowly stalking her, he was manoeuvring himself in his position to actually, get to her. And then when he uses this magical force to summon these swords, we thought that we're basically building up towards a climax where he ultimately throws the swords towards her. These griffin characters or statues are coming to life. These are gorilla-shaped characters with wings, and they're much more dynamic in their movements than the monkeys, and they're very sort of athletic in their moves.
In order to make the stuntmen react in a real physical way, the black box was dragged through the set. It was built to be the same shape, roughly, as the griffin, so that the stuntmen reacted to a similar sized object. And then we removed the black box. Here we can see the same frame, but with the griffin in place, with the soldiers reacting now to the griffin rather than the box.
We made a great deal of effort to give them a different character from the Stone Monkeys. The griffin characters were very dynamic and they had a definite function, and that was basically to get and stop Lara.
This is one of the final encore shots where Lara shoots one of the griffins. And here's some of the elements that we used to put it together. This is a background plate without anything there. The 3D CG elements. This is some of the bullet hits, the elements we put on top. And finally some mats. We replaced the hands and the gun for the final shot.
We had a lot of fun blowing living daylights out of these characters. I think our animators did a good job in getting across the dynamism of this character. I was very pleased with the way that they came out.
Well, one of the first ideas I came up with for the film was the bungee ballet, because I thought, what would Lara Croft do to relax? She's not going to play chess, she's not going to watch TV, she's going to jump 50 feet off the balcony of her staircase and bungee ballet.
Turn over! We talked about it in the beginning of this film, that the big thing for me would be to learn what I could from this person and kind of become her as much as possible.
3, 2, 1, go!
It's exciting and dangerous, but it's also beautiful. And I wasn't even sure whether she was ever going to be able to do it.
I didn't know that I could do certain things. I never tried bungee ballet.
It was all her. We did not use a double at all. You know, she does double, triple somersaults, coming right to the floor and then taking her right back up again. And that is something for a leading lady, your star, to do that was absolutely incredible.
Originally, I planned to do it mainly with stunt doubles and then just do the usual coming in for close-ups with the star. But of course, Angelina, you know, is brilliant and can do anything. And so when we put her in the rig, we found out that she could do it all herself, so I don't have to use doubles at all. That's great. Whenever you can have your star doing these things for real, then you should do it. She's amazing.
But the bungee thing is just, it's fun. It's free. She's really open and flies back and falls forward, and there's no boundaries. A lot of people live in a kind of careful space, and she's just like, really out. And that's the perfect thing, just to fly around and control it and go up and down, and it's very graceful. It's ballet.
The bungee ballet was always in the script.
On action, just straight past it, okay?
But then we wanted to take it one stage further, and there's an assault on the house with all the intruders coming in, so we wanted to use the bungee in some original way or form to dispatch all the intruders.
One of the main action sequences in the film is this attack on Lara's house. And of course this annoys her to a certain extent because she was relaxing. So she decides to take them on. It's very fun to watch, but it's very time-consuming to shoot.
Watch them go under, and then I'll shout now, and then the third one drops right in front of you, and that's when you go.
Most of the time I'm having to explain that some things she just can't do, but it's not very much because she's very young, athletic, and she's trained for months for this. So she's actually very skillful in all these things.
1, action!
The thing with her is that she learns so quickly. It's very surprising how fast she can learn something.
I think they've all gone.
Well, they got what they came for.
Eight Alpha Foxtrot, take 1A camera.
B camera.
Angelina knows exactly what she wants, and she knows she's capable of doing lots of things. She wants to be involved in everything.
Instead of backing down from, I don't want to be her and I don't want to step back, instead you kind of want to jump from thing to thing and do some crazy thing and get everybody to look at you and go, yeah, that's her again.
D220, Kilo, take 1.
This is once again when everybody starts to clear and I'm stuck on a prop somewhere.
You go into these fantastic sets, you have these great action sequences, but at the center of it, you love this person. I mean, you just want to be with Lara Croft the whole time. And I discovered that from the first day of shooting. I just realized, as long as I'm pointing the camera at Angie, I can't go wrong.
Okay. Here we go.
It was a lot more intricate than it appears because it's not just a fixed column swinging on it, you know, backwards and forwards. The whole idea of it is that it had to be released, it had to move forward across the set as well as going down at the same time.
We'd rehearsed this numerous times with the stunt doubles, and both of them had to take motion sickness pills because they were on this column for about 20 minutes and they were both sort of getting seasick. And also, they actually found it very difficult. They couldn't stand up on the log. Angelina literally got on. She stood up straight away and she was like riding a surfboard. Everyone was so stunned. She did it better than the stunt doubles, better than what we'd seen in rehearsals, and I was saying this was not possible.
As much of it as it's a thing for people to believe that I can be her, I really would like to be like her. So if anybody even thinks I'm remotely close to her, I'm extremely flattered. And if they don't believe that I'm anything like her, I kind of would say, well, yeah. I agree. I'm the first one to say that I'm, just, I'm a bit of a dork, so at the end of the day, I'm clumsy.
The orrery set was actually very difficult because it's a very mechanical set and there's a lot of elements in there that are actually not only difficult but dangerous.
The harness that you have to wear has to be extremely tight and it is extremely uncomfy. I always used to say to her, remember the key word, and the key word was suffer, because it really hurts. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's very dangerous. You're quite high up and revolving around and there's nothing beneath you. But Angelina, she seems to have no fear.
Roll video. Action!
I just wanted to win, and I did. But now we saved the world, right?
Alex, not now! What are you doing?
Get him off the clock!
Oh, I said you were right. Just give me the clock. I know what to do.
We never planned to blow up the orrery, but it soon became apparent that we're going to take it apart anyhow, so why don't we blow it up?
I think at one point I had 14 cameras on the big set piece just because these events are unrepeatable.
I'm running through this orrery with water just crashing down, a tidal wave coming. There's planets exploding, debris falling. I'm not even acting, it's just like go from here to here and don't get hit by anything.
We were all commenting that how lucky we are to have Angelina.
She kind of raised the bar very, very high.
Angie became Lara Croft, and so in a way it was like I kept forgetting that she was an actress playing the part.
Once she started things, there was really no stopping her.
There's so many things in this film. I'm really proud of it. I don't know how I'm going to adjust to normal life. When I first got here, I felt like this little geek, this little like scrawny, young actress from LA.
One more time, let's go forward.
And then through all the training, my body had changed and my mind had changed because I had a totally different focus.
I knew that I was going to have to put Angie through some pretty rigorous training. I got her over to London and basically put her into boot camp because there were so many different disciplines that she was going to have to learn.
And I felt like I was being formed into a special agent.
We wanted to give her the opportunity to look as much of an expert as she could in all the areas that she's going to have to pursue.
Angie worked 6 days a week, doing 6 or 7 disciplines per day to get in shape for the film. Special weight training, she had to go on special diets.
They've got me on a program, got vitamins and teas and protein shakes, and I'm trying to have that high protein, low carb thing. I'm like this weird experiment. I think they're all seeing what they can do to me.
Basically, Angelina started 3 months prior to shooting. What we had to do at first was build her physical strength up and body tone.
I was extremely out of shape. I hadn't gone to a gym in years.
Nice and relaxed.
I've actually changed since I got here. Much more flexible than I was. I gained some weight and put on some muscle. It's been great. They're really taking care of me.
As well as doing the physical training scheme, she was then doing a fight training.
Eunice was teaching me kickboxing and really teaching me to fight.
Just keep that tight. The kick's nice and get your hips in flat. Just good.
I'm trying to learn how to fight properly and learn how to really fight. And Eunice is a real fighter, so she's not just teaching me how to pretend in front of the camera. We're going through it and really trying to learn all the techniques and really know how to do it.
Get this nice motion there. It's going to be jab, you're going to go jab, and then just kick.
The sort of fighting style we've gone for is more of a street fighter. She's not a karate expert or anything like that, but you're using a combination of things, like a full contact type karate.
Good, much better.
I feel like I'm doing a bit of everything. I mean, we wanted to make it a real fight. I'm also learning just some good old street fighting and some knees and elbows and headbutts and, a square punch in the face.
When she punches someone, they don't come back.
I never took yoga before. I thought I'd hate it, but I really like it.
Yoga is just relaxation, and also it's muscle tone as well. It's very good for mind and body.
I wanted her to really be as whole a human being as possible, and I think we wanted her to have that fire and that fight, but also have that really strong center and be really relaxed.
Angelina would start with yoga at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then she'd come to do weapons training.
We had military weapons training, getting on your knee and knowing how to position yourself.
Good. One target only.
And they'd set up things all around the place. Things would flip around, and I'd have to duck and dive and roll, and I was losing my mind.
Advance. Up!
She's a perfectionist, so she wanted to look as good as she can possibly look. It's nothing worse than to see an actor that insists he knows how to use a weapon. Everybody watches it and knows anything about weaponry goes, oh my God, look at it, he held the gun backwards.
Whichever target you come across first, treat that as a maximum threat.
Within the weapons training, she was taught by an SAS instructor. SAS is the English Special Forces.
Take out him, go for him, stoppage, draw your pistol.
He first just taught her basically how to fire a gun.
Short bursts. Up.
We had to bear in mind that Angelina was left-handed. We had to have a specially made gun that would fire and she could reload properly with her left hand.
Turn to your left. Up.
I had to learn some things that she does that now I can do them. Probably unless you practice it, nobody can do those. They're her things.
I walk in, and here I see my daughter standing on a column that's been broken down. Take her guns out and flip them in the air and throws them into the holster. Whoa! Doesn't anybody realize how unbelievable is it?
To sort of understand her dedication and her ability would be to sort of compare it to an actor training to be an Olympic athlete and then being able to perform at the level of an Olympic athlete.
I wanted to be able to do as much as I could, and so I've worked really hard to be able to jump in her world and her skin a bit.
She's just done so much. She did fight training, she did motorbike riding, she's done husky dog racing, she's done gymnastic training.
The other day I was trying to think about what haven't we done to her? You know, and I think the only thing we haven't done is lit her on fire.
Angelina should be the role model for action actors in that we turned her into something that you really wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley. But then maybe again you would.
Lara is an icon to the younger generation. She's great because she is that kind of clean living, all-round good person.
I think it's an intelligent game, and I think it's also really obvious. She's built.
Women want to be her, men want to be with her, and I think that's a recipe that works across both genders.
A video game for us is about escapism. It's a way of people maybe being something that they couldn't be in real life.
The history of Lara came from an E3 show where I saw for the first time Sony PlayStation and was like, wow, this is the future. This is where gaming's going. This is such a cool machine. Came back, said, these are the games that we've got to beat. These are the games we've got to get better at. It started like that.
It actually allowed us to sort of bring a sort of a dream that we had of what the game could be using the then, technology.
One of the guys said, I've got this great idea for a pyramid game, and like Egyptian game. I said, yeah, I just love that idea. 6 months later, it said, there's the character, what do you think? Very cool, but Indiana Jones, and it was this male character. And I said, where's his whip? We're gonna get sued. We need to change it. Literally a week later, I changed it, and there was Lara. Well, it's a woman. You've gone from a man, and now you put a woman there, you're going mad. And I said, no, it's going to be really cool. She's got to do so many different things that men can't do.
The game was about solving puzzles and looking after this character. And actually what we did, we wrote all the characteristics of the character down on a piece of paper. We wanted the character to certainly have an agility, almost a coyness. And the more we looked down this list, the more it pointed towards being a female character.
She was called Laura Cruz. And then we had to change the name because Americans can't say Laura. Laura like an English Laura. And they kept calling Lara. We go, there's Laura, no, it's Lara. And then Cruz didn't work.
Our perspective as English people is that the American people like a lot of our history, a lot of the things that England has that we take for granted. And we thought, well, let's really utilize that. That's why we changed her name from Laura Cruz, because to us that sounded more of an American name, to Lara Croft. And Tomb Raider was born from that.
I think the game came at a breakthrough time in the industry. Technology took a significant leap from the sort of 2D graphics into 3D graphics. And the gameplay, which is very compelling. You're an adventurer, you're in a world, you're fighting, you're going around finding objects with a very involved storyline.
Ah, Miss Croft. I take it you're ready to sign on. To what?
The timing for Lara was so good because there was this whole shift in the demographic of what was happening, if you like, in the whole female movement.
We knew that we wanted this character to be something other than a person that carried guns and just shot things, because that wasn't what the game about.
All of a sudden, the women were far more confident in what they wanted to do, and sort of, why the guys, you are no better than we are. We can do what you guys can do, and hey, get out of our way because we're coming through.
The certainly been other female characters in video games, but I think we were the first one really to take it and only be a female character. You know, the easy option for us in Tomb Raider would have been to say, let's have a female and a male character, and you can select which one to be. But we thought this was key to the game, being a female character, that the male players would relate more to the character. They'd feel more in keeping. They wanted to nurture Lara and make sure, you know, that she was protected and that she could survive the ordeal that was facing her. Tomb Raider 2, which is some 6 years ago now, when obviously the Lara sort of phenomenon was really taking off. There was almost a feeding frenzy around for what we were going to do next with Tomb Raider, and lots of people were actually asking and assuming that we were going to go off and do almost a computer-generated movie along the lines of sort of Toy Story, and I think they were very popular then. At the same time, the interest was sort of, you know, it became fairly apparent that Lara as a character could make that transition from video game screen onto the big screen.
Our biggest concern when we were looking for a partner with the movie was exactly what they're going to do with Lara. Lara is our Mickey Mouse, and we're as protective over her as Disney is over Mickey, and we had to be pretty sure that we could say no. Paramount were the only company that were prepared to do that, the only movie studio that were prepared to do that.
We were very involved in looking at the script and the cast and the characters to make sure, once again, that the integrity of the property was maintained, because it was such a big part of our business, and we felt we didn't really want to compromise. And certainly with Angelina, there was no second choice. She's the perfect Lara Croft.
In my opinion, I don't think they could have got anybody better to be Lara Croft. She has so many of the sort of attributes that we've always thought Lara. She is a very strong-willed person. She really just also got a very soft and feminine side. Angelina Jolie has all of those attributes. She really took it to heart. She accepted everything, all the challenges. When I was down and seeing her on the set, you know, she was in harnesses bouncing above 100 feet above us, and staggering, absolutely staggering.
She's got all those things. She has all the things we love about James Bond. She's got all the cool stuff, and she comes from a certain past and history and a certain kind of she's got all that sexy intelligence, but she's also Indiana Jones, and she's a real active person.
The game and the movie are two different things. It just so happens that the movie is using a star of the game.
Whereas at the moment, we're working a lot on what we're calling Next Generation Tomb Raider. And I think that the time has come maybe for Lara to meet other characters and interact with other characters, and other characters playing much more of a part of Lara's adventure.
The character that you see on the screen will be sharper, will have better animation, and once again, your association with realism will be much better because of the technology.
Listen, the great thing about Lara is she can have a tuck and a lift and no one even notices. So she's, in 30 years, she's still going to be around. I mean, who knows, she may get married and have children. There'll be Lara, the daughter. Can you imagine? That'd be great.